Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Katie, a member of the CK-12 team, and my colleague Felix and I will be running today's webinar, Learning Management Systems. We're so glad you've joined us. Before we go over today's programming, I'd like to remind you about a few things related to Zoom. You'll see two different options on your Zoom screen. One is for Q&A and one for chat. As per usual, if you have questions for us, please put them in the Q&A window so that we can track them and make sure to get to all of your questions. And if you're having a wonderful conversation in chat, which it looks like is already up and running, just check that all panelists and attendees option so everyone gets the message and not just the team here in Palo Alto. And then if you hear any issues with sound, video, anything like that, please let us know and we will try to address them. So with that, many of you know this webinar is part of our summer CK-12 Certified Educator Program. And this particular session ties into the Intelligent Adaptive Practice Pathway, or any customized version. So if you signed up for the whole program, awesome. You're going to be completing those 7 sessions this summer. And if this is the first one you've signed up for, no worries. We'll be happy to kind of stay on at the end and talk more about those 7 sessions and the community of educators. But if you have any additional sessions, there's a few more coming up this week. Feel free to register for them on our Jumpstart page. And otherwise with that, I think we're going to move into the Intelligent Pathway and our learning management systems. So, today's content. In this webinar, our wonderful teammate Felix is going to be covering the following topics. Single sign-on, so accessing CK-12 through Clever and ClassLink. CK-12's learning management system integration for Canvas and Schoology, which includes the ability to create your own assignments and view student scores in your gradebooks for a variety of our modality types. Our math and science practice apps for Edmodo, so assigning practice and seeing those in your gradebook as well. Sharing to Google Classroom, so sharing modalities and pages from CK-12 to your classroom. And we'll talk kind of what that looks like now and then where we're going shortly with Google Classroom. And then Blackboard, so discovering CK-12 resources and Blackboard's open content. Our main goal is that by the end of this session, you'll know about the learning management system integrations we offer, how to log in through ClassLink and Clever, create assignments on Canvas, Schoology, and Edmodo, and review reported scores, in addition to being able to share content with your Google Classroom and searching for it in Blackboard. Before we get into the core content of this webinar, it would be great if we found out a little bit more about you and your use of various learning management systems. You'll see a poll here in a few seconds that will prompt you to respond to a question. Knowing this answer will help us tailor this webinar. So the question asks, which of the following learning management systems are you using in your school or district? Today, we're kind of focusing on these 5 that we're talking about, so Blackboard, Canvas, Edmodo, Google Classroom, Schoology. And then if you're using a different one, feel free to check that other, and you're welcome to tell us in the chat window if you want to do that so that we have an idea of some of the other ones that are being used. Or maybe you're not using a learning management system, and you're here to kind of understand what that looks like. So we'll give you another just a little bit of time to kind of finish that up and put those in there. Looks like we're getting a bunch of these in here. So answers are still coming in, so we'll give it another couple seconds to kind of click those last options as you work your way through, and then we'll share those with you. So I think with that, let's wrap that up. And you guys can see that by a long shot, many of you guys are using Google Classroom. So you'll be happy to know that we're actually working on enhancing that integration this summer so that you'll be able to see your grades within Google Classroom as well as on CK-12. So I think with that, we're gonna introduce you to Felix and go from there.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. My name is Felix, and I work on integrations here at CK-12. And so I'm going to go ahead and take you through, I guess, a bunch of the options that we do offer and kind of help explain those and walk you through what you can do with them. So the first one we wanted to talk about, or I guess the first set, is our single sign-on partners. And basically what these guys do is they try to make your lives easier by basically handling all your account, school information in one system. And that way, when you want to use other applications such as CK-12, you don't have to worry about the credentials or the logins for all your students and different faculty. So what they do is they provide a system where you can kind of manage all of that in one place, and then from there they kind of handle the handshake and authentication to other sites like ours. So this first one I'm going to go over is Clever. So here's their site. If you're interested in them, you can definitely check them out. They have a lot of other partners that they work with besides CK-12. And so here I'm already signed in as a teacher, and with Clever, this is usually set up by like a district admin. So the district will set up all the logins and things for your school, and then they'll also take care of installing the applications for you. So usually as a teacher, even maybe as an administrator, this may already be installed if you've requested CK-12 to be there. So once you log into Clever and you locate our application, if it's not installed, just talk to your IT person and they can help get you set up. But once it's installed and you have our app, it's really easy. You just click on our app. It's going to log you into CK-12. And then once that login's completed, you're signed into CK-12, and then you can go about, doing whatever you need to do like normal. And that is the extent of that integration there. It's just to get you signed in and not have to worry about managing all those different logins. So in the same token, I'm going to go ahead and sign out of here and hop over to our next one, which is ClassLink. And they're very similar. They kind of are tackling a similar mission as Clever was. So I won't go into too much of that. But this is their website. And again, if you have any questions outside of CK-12 and ClassLink, if you're interested in ClassLink, feel free to check out their website. So I'll go ahead and close that. So now I'm signed in here into ClassLink, and I've already installed our app. But they do have a way for you to go to an app library. And if we're actually featured in this, guys, so if it wasn't already added, you can click add and it'll add it. You can explore other apps as well. But in the same note, so once it's installed, you can go ahead and click on it. It's going to sign you in. And now I'm signed in as a different user, but same thing, basically not having to manage the login. You click on it, you're signed in, and you can continue working from there. And then I'll also point out of a few of our other single sign-on options. So they're not exactly the app formats that you saw earlier with the different providers. But basically, when you come to our sign-in page, we offer sign-in with Google, sign-in with Facebook, and then there's also Twitter and Microsoft. So we have quite a few different options to getting you signed in, or you can always set up an account using your email password like normal.
Great. Thanks, Felix. So hopefully that gave you just a quick introduction. We figured single sign-on kind of ties in nicely with learning management systems, so we thought we'd start with that. But I think the next part that we're going to go into is CK-12 and Canvas. So maybe Felix can bring up that Canvas kind of homepage, and we'll talk about that for a second. So we have an LTI app that's compatible with Canvas, and this app allows you to assign content from CK-12 and select resources from your CK-12 library. So the resources that you can assign within Canvas include reads, videos. So the reads are kind of our text sections from our books, videos, real-world applications, our adaptive practice, and quizzes. So kind of those basic general pieces. And with that, I think we're going to let Felix show you what that looks like.
Thank you, Katie. So jumping into Canvas, if you guys aren't familiar, Canvas is an LMS learning management system. So they allow you to create courses. Within those courses, you can kind of manage your students. So you can create assignments, post activities, and things like that. They have a grade passback that allows you to track scores, and the gradebook that allows you to view the grades for the assignments and for your students. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and log in. Actually, I'm already logged into my teacher account, but I will go ahead and take one step back. So after you sign in and you go to your course, actually before you even get there, let me show you kind of where you can find the install instructions for this. So on our main site, we have our tools and apps page. And this kind of has basically a lot of what we offer. A lot of the integrations are here. So CK-12 and Canvas, Blackboard's also mentioned there. So let me go ahead and click on that. And basically what this is bringing up is a form. So when using the apps for our LTI apps for Canvas and Schoology, you'll have to request a set of keys in order to complete the installation. So we have a form that we ask you to fill out. And so you fill out all this information here, name, school, and district. If you're working with if you're a district requester, or if your teacher requesting it, chances are that your district has already done this for you, or it could be if you're using like your own instance. So Canvas has like a free version, and there's like a version where you can have your own instance of Canvas. So kind of like I have CK-12.instructure, you could have your school.instructure. So sometimes we ask that the IT person for your school or district request these. That way, it's kind of in one place. You can always go to them and get those keys. So this is the form we have to request that. Once you fill this out and submit it, we respond to you back with the keys and then some instructions to install it. So I just kind of wanted to point that form out, and that was from our tools and apps page, and it's at the footer of our website. So once you do have this installed, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the assignments portion of my course. And as you can see, I've already created some, but basically you want to go ahead and create a new assignment. And you can enter the details for the assignment. So you can go ahead and set how many points you want, but you don't have to do that now. You can do that later. And then under here, external submission type, you want to make sure it's selected as external tool. And then you can go ahead and click on the find, and you should see our app once installed. So go ahead and click on that. And so this will load the app. And so now we're inside of the app for CK-12. There's a library section you can search, and then it has the subjects listed. Both math and science are listed here. So I'll go ahead and go through creating assignment for algebra, and then I'll talk about the My Library portion. So you can go ahead and kind of drill down through these different subjects. And I'm going to go ahead and see. So then it's going to open up, and it'll show you all the different modality types that are available. So some of these subjects won't have all of these. It may just have assessment for our practice. It may just have video, it may just have read, etc. This one actually did have a nice variety, so I chose this one. So you can kind of click through the filters and see what's available. If you did want to take a look at it before adding it, you can click on it and it'll open up this little embed view. And so I'll go ahead and assign this practice here. So you click on the add button. Now what it did was it created a link for you, which is here. And then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and click select. If you wanted to finish filling out any details, you can. But for the most part, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is click on save and publish. And so now this is just gonna load the assignment. So for the teacher, you won't really see anything. I mean, you'll be able to go through the practice and view whatever you assigned. But for the students, they'll be able to actually turn something in. So let me jump back and go into that app one more time and kind of walk through the library portion. The other thing I will note is with our actually most of our integrations that are doing the sign-in piece for you, if you already have an existing account and you kind of want to link the two together, as long as you're using the same email address for whatever kind of single sign-on or LMS you're inside of, as long as those are the same, when that authentication happens, we can pair the two accounts so that way you're not having to create, it's not going to create a separate one. So if you have any concerns, perhaps you're using a different email and you can't switch that email for some reason, please reach out to us and let us know before launching the app or attempting to sign in, and then we can try to correct that before that new account happens. So now we're inside of the library portion of the app, and a lot of times you have questions is how do I assign something from my Flexbook? So the easiest thing to do is when you're customizing your Flexbook, you can either add it to your library or customize it. So if you've done either of those, it'll show up here. And these are just the sections within the Flexbook, so not the entire Flexbook you'll be able to assign, but definitely the meat of the content that you do want your students to kind of read or explore, you can find here. And then once you're in here, just clicking the add button will create the assignment just like we saw earlier. Also, you have the option for your quizzes. So these are kind of like a customized practice where you have control over the number of questions and different options. So you get a little more flexibility and control. It's not, once you create a quiz, you lose the adaptive piece of it, but it's kind of in your hands at that point. So feel free to do what you need to. So here you'll be able to find your reads and quizzes. If you've added any of the other supported types, such as the videos or the real world applications, they'll be here also. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. All right, and then real quickly, let me show you what the student side would look like. One second. Just trying to. Okay, so I'm actually signed in now as a student, and I just kind of wanted to show you what the students would see for like a practice. And I'll even open up a reading so you can see. So the practice is here. So after the student goes through the practice, they'll be able to see their results and their scores, what they got right, what they got wrong, etc. And then for them, they'll see a turn-in button. So if you guys ever run into this where your student doesn't see this turn-in button appear after submitting the practice and they're kind of at this page, what you can do is once they're logged in, go to CK-12 and just make sure their account is set up as a student. Because for teachers, we actually don't show this. So a lot of times students may have had an account or been on CK-12 and somehow adjusted that setting, or maybe when they signed up, they had signed up as a teacher originally before using the app. So we just say, just check that before. If that's not the case, please reach out to us. So students will see this turn-in button. They can turn in the score. And then once that score gets submitted, it will populate the gradebook. And so let me jump over to the gradebook now. And teachers will also be able to see this. So as you can see, we have the scores that was created. This one's from today, which I haven't done, but it tells you that it's out of 100 points. So if I click on this guy, it's not showing the preview. Let me just real quickly. Okay, so sorry to be bouncing around so much. I am back in the teacher. I just wanted to show the gradebook for the teachers. So it looks a little bit different. Okay, so here's this guy. And I just wanted to show kind of the report really quickly. Okay, so this one's going to bring up this URL to kind of view. So what you're seeing is actually the student scores. Go back real quickly. I'm going to click view in a new tab because that one's kind of too small to really show everything. So this is the same report that we saw for that student, and I just wanted to point out that you can still see and review kind of their answers. So that's really nice that you can kind of see exactly the questions they were answering and what they asked. And then real quickly, just to note on the other assignment type. So for everything that's not a practice or a quiz, it's kind of like once they open it, they get full credit for just the attempt. So they'll get 100 points or whatever you set the score. So if it's like 10 points, they'll get full credit basically. But everything else like practice and quiz, where they're actually having to go through the questions, they'll get whatever they scored on that particular practice.
Thanks, Felix. So we have a couple of questions coming in. Let me try to answer one or two, and then I'm going to kind of pass them along to you as well. We had one about these systems being free to teachers. So as Felix just said, for Canvas, there is a free version of it. If you want your school name built into that and you want your own instance of that, then you would have to pay for that. So there's kind of a variety of options as we talk about these learning management systems. So really the main goal is that if your school is using this to track student progress and you're interested in kind of incorporating CK-12 within that learning management system, then that's a great option. If you are looking for something different, or you're using, CK-12 groups, that also gets you a lot of this information. But so this is definitely for those ones that, you're using a particular one and you're interested in one of these and you want to talk about variations with your school. And then this tells you what you can do with CK-12 within that. And then we had a question about making sure students had that turn it in button. So if a student is logged in as a student, they should have that turn it in button, and they just need to make sure to do that so that the grades get passed to Canvas. If they, for some reason, created a teacher account, then you would just need to reset their account as a student so they'd be able to see that. And then we have a question, Felix, maybe you can answer this, that asks if you can assign to groups as well as to everyone within Canvas. So you want to see if you have an answer?
Yes, so assigning to groups versus everyone. So as far as I know, you can assign, I guess, to the course, which will go to everyone. I haven't really seen it done for just the group. But it may be possible to configure that. That's just not something I have tried. But definitely, if you have any, I guess if you've tried it and you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and then we can kind of explore and see if that's not possible. Maybe something we can try to support. But right now, when you're creating assignment, it's going to everyone in that course. So it's kind of, I guess, defaulting to all by default.
Thanks. And we had a couple of questions in terms of custom quizzes and seeing results. So just to clarify, our practice system, if you leave it as adaptive practice and you assign practice, incorporates the system will bump students up to harder questions. It will make recommendations if they're struggling. It keeps that whole adaptive piece. If you create a quiz and you set the number of questions and I'd pick your specific questions, we're not going to override that by trying to make it adaptive. So definitely keep that in mind as you're adjusting for those pieces. And then from there, what you would see differently is that the students, if they have an adaptive practice option, are going to be able to kind of get that goal out of 10 correct. Whereas if they have a quiz, it would be an actual percentage based on the number of questions you have in a quiz. So that would be kind of how the score would be reported differently. It's still a percentage, but for students, their goal is 10. And if they get to that goal, they get 100%. For a quiz, it's actually at the percentage out of the total number that you had there. And so you'd see the results in the same manner as you would for that particular piece. And then Felix, we have one other question in terms of, do things look different on an iPad versus on a computer for Canvas? I don't know if you know the answer to that, or if that's more of a Canvas question than a CK-12 question.
Yeah, I guess that question would be better directed at Canvas. I'm not sure of how their site does as far as responsiveness. I know that our site in general is fairly responsive, and we also have apps to support these different devices. Although for our app within Canvas, I have not seen it on like an iPad. I would definitely reach out to Canvas and see if that's even something that they support. But yeah, I guess the question is I do not have an answer for that. But I know that our website itself does support like different devices such as iPad, even mobile phones, and then we also have apps that kind of give you a way better experience than the browser on those devices.
Okay, Felix, I think with that, we're going to move into Schoology. We'll keep answering questions as we go through this, so keep adding them in. But yeah, you want to take us into Schoology?
Yes. All right. So this is Schoology. I'm kind of signed in. I'm already signed in as a teacher here. So Schoology is another LMS similar to Canvas. We're actually working with Schoology on a couple things to kind of heighten the experience of our LTI app. So what you'll see in Schoology is a little bit different than what you saw in Canvas. But I did kind of want to point out the installation for Schoology. It's a little bit different. So once you're signed in and you've went through the process of requesting those keys, when you sign into Schoology, you can go to the App Center, kind of like I did. I found CK-12, and then once you're here, you can click Install and install it for whatever course you need to. So that's kind of like a real quick where to go to find our app. And this is, of course, you do want to fill, and then also in the description, we have like a link to that form. So if you haven't already requested the keys in secret and obtained them, there's a link in the description here to get that. And then also a fully detailed installation instructions available in our Help Center. So with that, I'll go ahead and close this. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump into a course. So we already had some kind of past assignments created, but once you have the app installed, you want to click on this Add Materials. It's going to drop down, bring you a bunch of options, but most of these external tools will show up on the right. So here's our app. And so again, this is going to kind of take you through the sign-in process. And so you'll see it looks a little bit different from Canvas. So they used to actually have the exact same workflow, but like I said, we're working with Schoology to kind of enhance this. And then once we kind of get this going, we definitely want to roll this out to our different LMSs like Canvas. So here, what you're seeing is kind of similar to what you saw in Canvas as far as subjects go. So you're kind of looking at different subjects. I clicked on Show All. This one kind of had the ones that I had checked off in my profile. But here you can see, everything that we have here. And then also there's a link to take you to your library, and the home kind of just takes you back to the browse. So you'll see as you're browsing, things will look a little bit different. So let me go ahead and jump into algebra. So if you've been on our home page or on our website at all, this should look very familiar because this is actually the site itself. And you're kind of taking out of that app view and into the site. So now you're going to be browsing the site directly. So if I jump into here, I'm kind of showing you this little help banner just to show you how you're going to be creating your assignments. And so you can kind of go through and browse. Pretty much the same things that were supported before are also supported for here as far as creating assignments. With the addition of Plinks, so this is one of our interactives that you can now assign within Schoology, but also your videos, practice, and real-world applications. I guess the thing to look for here is when you're kind of browsing, if you see this create assignment, that means that you will be able to create an assignment for it. If it's something like an activity, which doesn't have it, it'll be there for you to kind of look at. Eventually, we plan on having the ability to share resources. So anything that'll be here that's not assignable, you'll be able to share. And which is also kind of the workaround we tell people for things that aren't kind of assignable, is to copy the link and then paste it in your LMS. So we do plan on adding kind of an easier way to do that from within this sort of experience, so that it should make it a little bit easier. So with the addition of like the reads videos and the quizzes, real world applications, we're also adding Plinks. So I'll go ahead and actually click on that. And so what this is doing, it opens in a new window. The window size that we currently have is kind of small. It doesn't give you the best view, especially for our Plinks. It's an interactive, so you kind of want a bigger real estate. So that's actually one of the things we're working with Schoology on. But for now, we do have it here. So as you can see, the Plinks will load up in a new window. If you want to kind of go through and explore it, you can. If you feel comfortable enough that this is what you want to assign, there's that create assignment button. So you can go ahead and click on that. It's going to create the assignment, and then it adds it to your course. So the other kind of caveat about this workflow through Schoology is that after you create the assignment, if you do want to turn on like the grade passback feature, you still have to go in and edit. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So after it's been created, here's kind of that link that gets created that we saw in Canvas. You just want to click on enable grading. Go ahead and give it a category if you have something, and then period. You can do whatever's, I guess, set up for your course. Save changes, and then now that'll have that kind of grade passback turned on. And so for the Plinks, so the Plinks will load in this window, and kind of to get a better experience. This is okay, but if you wanted to go like a field view, they do have this option up here. So I would highly recommend that when looking at Plinkses. If it seems kind of weird, see if you can find this button here just to kind of expand it, and it gives you a way better real estate. Gives you the entire window, which is nice. So that's for teachers. I guess I'll jump back really quickly and show you sort of the navigating Flexbooks in that view. But for the most part, the assignments are the same, with the exception that now you can assign Plinks, and very soon we'll be adding simulations, which is another one of our interactive types. And it'll look, I guess the assignment flow will look very similar to what you saw for Plinks. So now let's say you're kind of browsing and you're checking out some Flexbooks. So a lot of times, like I was saying for Canvas, you can kind of go through here. If you've customized a book, it'll show up in your library that we had on Canvas. But now what you can do is you can actually browse through the Flexbook. Maybe you want to go through some of these sections and see which ones that you like for your students. And if you find something that you do like, you can click on the create assignment, and that will create the assignment from that section. So hopefully that makes it a bit easier when trying to create things for your section. But then once you click on this guy, looks like I must have double clicked. It's going to do the same thing, kind of sign you in, and then load this view for that section. And then again for the reads, everything that's pretty much not, and I guess in the case of Schoology, anything that's not either a Plinks sim or practice, you'll get full credit. And I guess sorry, even for the Plinks, you'll get full credit for that, as for the students. So actually, let me also show you what the gradebook looks like. So it kind of looks blank. I have it set for all grading period. Usually mine I've been checking off as no grading period, so I just had to kind of select that filter here. And so you'll be able to see like all the scores. And then let me kind of jump over to the student side really quickly. One second. Okay, I wanted to kind of show the student side, but having a problem logging into that account. but it's pretty much for the student. Once they see these, they'll be able to come in, open it up, and if it's a practice, they can do the practice questions and submit, just like we saw on Canvas. Outside of what the teachers see, the students will kind of see the same thing. And then for the Plinks, it's once they interact with it, they'll be able to do the challenge questions, and then that will, once they attempt the challenge questions, it'll submit their score, which even if they get it right or wrong, they'll get like full credit for that. So I did want to show that, but right now I'm having problems logging in for that student account. But in the interest of time, I guess we can skip that, and I can show that later if we still have time.
Thanks, Felix. So we had a couple of questions that came in and one answer to a question that came in. So it looks like some of our users are using Canvas and their mobile apps. So kind of talking about that on an iPad or a mobile phone. We also have our CK-12 app for an iPad or mobile phone for practice, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But thanks for kind of sharing that information with the rest of the group. One note in terms of that library that Felix was talking about, you're going to want to make sure that anything you've customized down to the read level, or you've added that read level to your library. Because if you're kind of pulling other content, you're assigning it at that read level, not at the whole book level. So if you're having trouble finding something, we're happy to work through that with you. But just remember that if you're trying to access from your library, you need to be accessing at the level at which you would be assigning it. So that's kind of one part there. And then we have a general question about teachers setting up classes or your IT person. The best option is to have the point person or your IT person for your school or district do that. That way you have kind of one clean key for all students and they're accessing it all together. And if they're jumping in between classes that are using it, it works out that way. So that would be the preferred option. If you have any issues with that, let us know. But I would highly recommend your school or even district level IT person to take care of that. So the other thing kind of in terms of thinking about that iPad versus phone, Felix was just talking about our Plinks involved and kind of accessing it in a larger screen size. Our Plinks and Sims are best seen on a screen larger than 7 inches. Often it'll give you kind of an error message if it's smaller because there's not enough screen space to work with that. So if you are kind of assigning those pieces, make sure that you have access to that or students are accessing that on something that has a big enough screen size to actually take care of that. So I think from there, we're going to have Felix start talking about Edmodo. But I'm going to kind of just explain one quick thing first on Edmodo, and that's it. First of all, you're working with an Edmodo Spotlight, and that's where you'd be pulling up the apps for CK-12. We have an app for math and one for science, and these allow you to create practice apps. So this is strictly for practice and quizzes. Canvas and Schoology included some of those other modality options or other types of learning options, reads, videos, etc. But make sure that you're kind of, if you're using Edmodo, that it's your practice and your quizzes that are the pieces that you can assign within Edmodo. So Felix, all yours.
Great, thank you, Katie. So I'm actually in the Edmodo Spotlight. It's kind of their place for sharing and discovering content and different applications from providers like us. So this is, and I will also note that for Edmodo, we actually have 2 separate apps. So there's one for math, practice, and one for science. And we say practice because these kind of, when we rolled them out, they were just practice and quizzes. So unlike Canvas and Schoology, where you can kind of assign reads and other videos and things like that. For now, our apps are just practice. So they're titled practice apps. So once you find our apps in the store, you can search for CK-12, CK-12 Foundation, or probably even math practice or science practice. Once you're here, what you can do is you can assign the app to a group. So you can choose like which groups you want to install the app for. So you can do one or all of them and go ahead and click install. And that'll install it to your group. And then once you do have that done, and it's the same process for science, which is also here under related products. So if you wanted to check those out, you can kind of switch between both pretty easily. once you're on one of those pages. But again, it's the same sort of installation process for that. And this one, you won't need a key and secret like you did for Schoology and Canvas. But once you do have it installed for your group, I'm signed in as a teacher. You can create assignments for your class. And so let me open up the app launcher here, and I'm just going to go ahead and launch this guy. There we go. Oops, looks like there's a connectivity issue. Try that one more time. There you go. Okay, looks like there's a little glitch. So this is the app for our math practice. So as you can see, it's just our kind of our math subjects here. You do also have a search, and there's, instead of the library, there's the quizzes, since we only kind of allow you quizzes here. So any quizzes that you've created that are in your library will show up here. And if you wanted to assign those, you can. So here's all the kind of the groups that we are aware of within Edmodo. So if you wanted to assign that, you pretty much just select a due date, select which apps you wanted to assign it to, and then you can do that. So just do a quick. But that sends it to Edmodo, and then I'm going to click over to that class just to show you where it shows up. This is defaulting to members. I don't know why, but it was. So I clicked on the post section, but this is kind of where the assignments show up. So if you guys have been on Facebook or anything like that, this might look a lot like Facebook. And I know at one point, Edmodo was kind of coined as the social app for education for those that use it. So it kind of has a similar feel. If you've been on a few different social sites, this might feel kind of like that. So it shows up as a post for your group. So back into the app, let me go through. Let's go. So once you get here, it's kind of the same as what we saw before, but basically you select any one of your groups and a due date, or if you had any quizzes that were kind of tied to the same concept. So if you had any quizzes that were tied to metric system, they would show up here. But then you also have the option to create a new quiz. That'll kind of bounce you to a new. Right, here you go. So then you can open this up. You can select like how many questions you want, give it a title, and things like that. And then if you want more options, this will open a new window for you to kind of really get in there and iron out a solid quiz for your students. I'll do this one. And then back over here, I'll just refresh the page. So let's click over to post. And so here's also that metric system practice. Let me just go ahead and click on it so you guys can see. But this should look very similar to what we were seeing for like sort of Canvas. So basically now you're kind of getting this whole page, but you have the option to going through and doing the practice. And similarly for our LTI apps for Canvas and Schoology, there's going to be a turn-in button for students, but not for teachers. So it's kind of the same thing. If you're not seeing that for your students, check to see if their account is set up as a teacher. So this is, I'm signed in as a student. I'm just going to refresh this really quick. So I can see that the new posts have come in. So yeah, so for your students, they'll see this. So they'll have that option. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on one that was kind of already done. So students will be able to access the assignments once they're in Edmodo. They can click on them, open them up, and kind of go through here. This is one that I kind of demo a lot, so that's why the gold's so high. But also here's the button we were talking about that we also saw for Canvas and Schoology. And then down here, this kind of also, I guess I didn't touch on this earlier, but it also has things that'll kind of help that we recommend that kind of go along with this concept. So if they're needing more information or they just want to learn a little bit more on whatever topic, these are here for our adaptive practice. And then again, here's kind of like the report for how the student did and what questions they kind of went through, etc. And then up here where it says progress, it's like a little, almost like a heart rate monitor kind of symbol. If you click on your group, this will show you everything that you've done. So this account we demo a lot, so not all of the assignments we kind of go through, but it has, what the assignment title was, what your score was, and then the date that it was graded. And so students will be able to continually turn in their scores. So even, let's say, they wanted to go back and do this. If it's not past the due date from it within Edmodo, they'll be able to come back, do this again, submit it for a higher score, and then this score will be, whatever the highest that they completed. And then I'll just kind of show you the grade book for the teacher. It just looks slightly different, but not too different. So they have this, it's the same icon for teachers. And then here you have like a longer list. Oops, back button. But it's pretty much the same. So once the student attempts it, it'll show up here. And this just kind of gives you a note of when they turned it in. So it'll say the time, date and time, and then the score. And this is via CK-12, just means it was through the app. It was one of the assignments that was submitted.
Thanks, Felix. So I think we're kind of keeping up with questions as we go through, but we want to kind of move into the last two major pieces of this webinar. So I think we'll kind of have Felix take over for there. Both Google Classroom and Blackboard are currently in update process. So Google Classroom for us, we're updating and adding more of that grade passback. So hopefully you guys have been paying attention as we were talking about Canvas and Schoology and kind of assigning pieces and going from there. We're working on similar options for Google Classroom so that you actually can see grades within Google Classroom, and hopefully those will be available for you shortly. So Felix is going to kind of show you the options to share within Google Classroom first, and then also just a brief promo about what Blackboard Open Content is updating to, so you can see those pieces as well. I'm going to have him kind of take over from there.
Great, thanks, Katie. So just close some tabs. So now I'm back onto our main site, signed out of the Edmodo account that was signed in. And I'm just going to go ahead and sign in to Google. So now that I'm, just jump to the browse. So now that I'm signed in, you don't have to sign in through Google necessarily right away to use the assign or share to Google option. But basically what it does, anywhere where you're seeing this share me, this airplane, which we call the shareplane, we'll have this icon here, which is the share on classroom button. It's a button that they offer, kind of that they had long before they opened up their APIs to kind of do deeper integrations. This is like the initial one that we had. But with this, you can assign, or you can share rather, sorry. Basically anywhere you see this share plane icon, you can click on it, open it, and share it. So if I were to do it from here, I'd be sharing this entire page, which can be helpful. Like if you just want to send things to your students, your class and classroom, and have them check out different resources or kind of explore on their own. So I can click on that here just to kind of show you what it looks like. So it's going to ask you to choose a class, and then it's going to say choose an option. And although it does say create assignment, this still won't give you the grade passback option. So once we do have that integration, it'll look a little bit different, or actually the workflow will be different for creating assignment. So right now, even though there is that option to create an assignment, I wouldn't expect it to do the grade passback that you'd probably be looking for. So I just wanted to mention that. But basically, if it's a question, that's not a really great question, but you kind of get the idea. Like you can give it a due date, topics, and it's going to have this link to the site. Oh, actually, I won't create that here. But even so, and this is on most of our pages. So like you can do it for this page. I'm actually even going to open up a Plinks because you can share these also, which could be very helpful. So here's the share me. So let me show you how I did that. So I clicked on these little 3 dots here, clicked on share me, and then again, here's that. So this would allow you to share this entire Plinks. And right now, though it's not supporting the grade passback, it's still a really valuable resource that your students can be exploring and kind of playing with. And quickly, let me go. Even for our simulations, you can do the same thing. So this should have. So let's say I wanted to share like this crash test dummy sim. So so once this loads, this one actually has the share plane icon. Looks like I do want to open it. All right, it looks like there's something blocking it from opening. I'll take a look at that, but basically you'll be able to share like all these resources in your classroom, and then they'll show up in your classroom. So click ask. Once you complete that, then they show up in your classroom. So here's kind of the things that we've been assigning. There we go. So it shows up there. They can click on it, takes them directly to that URL. And so as we're kind of working on our improvements to this integration, eventually you'll be able to assign it to your class. And what we're kind of thinking of, what we're most likely going to do is anywhere you see this assign a class action, kind of like what we had for Schoology, this pop-up will show up. There'll be an option for you to select your classroom as an option instead of your CK-12 groups. Now you can select your classroom groups, and then from there you'll be able to kind of click on Google Classroom, select your classes from the drop-down, and then assign this particular read or practice or whatever, anywhere where you're seeing this assign a class. That's kind of where we're going to also include the option to assign to your classroom. So that's why I was saying, like, the assign from the share it's a little different than what we would actually be doing. So this, although it says create assignment, this would be where we'd want to do it. So that's pretty much that's the integration as far as sharing, and then kind of what we have planned as far as what we want to do to allow you to create assignments and get the grade passback functionality.
Thanks, Felix. In the interest of time, I'm going to have you just kind of show any kind of quick updates for Blackboard as well, and then we'll make sure to wrap up this webinar around 10, and we'll go into all of these questions. The big one that we're getting right now is When do we expect this to be completed? We don't have a specific date on that. We are aiming for hopefully this fall, so you guys can have this for this coming school year. But I don't have a specific release date for you. When that happens, we will definitely email out all our users, email everyone from Jumpstart or the Certified Educator Program. So you'll all get a message on that, and we'll schedule a specific webinar just for Google Classroom so you can see those updates. So hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Great, thanks, Katie. Yes, so like she said, we're shooting to have this the Google Classroom integration done for back to school. So yeah, like around fall or maybe even in the next couple months, start looking for those announcements. We'll definitely be working with Google once we have that integration ready to send out to kind of get that announced on their end. So just keep checking those newsletters and announcements. So this is Blackboard. They have a Blackboard open content. They've been doing some updates to kind of help surface partners like us that have content that's available within Blackboard. So in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and show the video. All right, and that's pretty much it. Once we have that kind of finalized, we'll get something up in our help center. If you guys are using Blackboard and you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and then we can kind of help you find our content there if you're not finding it, or if you have any questions, feel free to let us know.
Thanks, Felix. And if you were curious about sound, it was just background music, so there's nothing you missed by not hearing sound on that video. It was just a quick demo on there, so no worries about that. I think at this point in time, I'm going to share my screen and talk for kind of the wrap-up pieces of this, and then we'll go into answering more of these questions as we go. So either at the bottom of our screen or the bottom of our page on any of our core pages for CK-12, you can link to our tools and apps option. We do have offline access for Flexbooks and Sims, and then a practice app. If you are using a learning management system, make sure that you've gone through the process of linking that account cleanly so that you have kind of a direct login via that same account to our practice app. And then students would still need to log into that learning management system to kind of submit that practice or turn it in. So just note that the practice app is mainly for CK-12 groups, but if you're trying to use it elsewhere, there are some options. It's just kind of would require a little bit of making sure that the account is linked cleanly and then turning it in again within that learning management system. As always, we have our assignment. So our assignment for this one is tinyurl.com CEP17 LMS for learning management system. So go ahead and check that out and let us know if you have any questions as you go through that. And then you can find that assignment already on our program page, ck12.org/certified2017. You can access that as well from the bottom of our footer on a CK-12 page. So, any of those assignments can be found under the session title. You can see that Intro to CK-12 at the bottom. Just keep scrolling down from there. All the way at the bottom are our archived webinars if you missed one and you need to catch up there. And that kind of has all of our information. We had questions about office hours throughout the school year. We are still available for support throughout the school year. It may look a little different, but definitely contact us or at support@CK-12, and we can kind of answer and work with you that way. And then upcoming sessions. This is our last week of the program. So we have a session this afternoon on advanced Flexbook editing. Tomorrow, one's on Sims and Plinks, and then using Flexbooks with students, which is those strategy sessions we've been working with. And then Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon, we have our wrap-up session with Maximizing Learning with CK-12. So feel free to join us for any or all of those based on your program. And you can register for them if you're missing one of these and you want to join us at that ck12.org/jumpstart option. If you have any feedback on this presentation, on other presentations, please feel free to give that to us so we can continue to make these even better. And I think with that, that wraps up today's presentation, the core content-wise. So if you need to slide off, you're welcome to do so. And then we are going to go back in and start answering some of these questions. So the first one that we had that I just mentioned in terms of having office hours when school begins, they won't be the same every Friday office hours that we have scheduled for the summer, but we will still make time available to kind of talk to users and make sure that you guys are being supported. So I would say contact us if you're looking for a specific one-on-one time slot, and we can talk about what that might look like. And then as we plan out our school year and what this program looks like during the school year and when our available times are for our team members, we'll kind of make those available to you guys as well. So definitely just stay posted, keep an eye on your email, and we'll update you accordingly. So let's see if we can answer some of these other questions. We have a couple in terms of what LMS is the easiest to utilize in the classroom, especially for students who may not always have access to our internet. I recommend questions like that you post on our forum. So let me just escape out of here and share my screen for a second, kind of in our CK-12 page. So one of the things that you guys can see here, if you look up at this cafe option, is our Jumpstart forum. We have a couple forums for students, and then this one for educators. There's a homeschool one and a couple states that have started stuff. But that's a question that, I can tell you what I used in my classroom when I started to teach, and I can tell you which ones are integrated with CK-12. But it's probably really great to crowdsource that answer across those that are involved in this program. So I highly recommend that you ask that question on our forum and see what other people recommend. So go ahead and do that, and hopefully that answers that piece. And then Felix, we have a Google Classroom question. So Debbie says, if I'm understanding this correctly, I can't create an assignment in Google Classroom from CK-12. I don't care about getting grades in Classroom. I just want to be able to create the assignment and control when students can access and do the assignment. I'd like for students to be able to download the assignment to their Google Drive so they can access it at home, even if they do not have internet access. So maybe you can start by talking about if she doesn't care about grades, that how Google Classroom once again allows her to create that assignment.
Yes. So, excuse me. So let me share my screen. Okay. So yes, hi Debbie. To answer your question, I guess it's not that you cannot create an assignment in Google Classroom. It's if you wanted an assignment that supported the grade passback, that right now you cannot do in CK-12. That's the piece that we're working on. But as far as what it looks like you want to be able to do, you should be able to do it. So this is, I clicked on that shared, looks like for a Plinks. So yeah, this window will kind of open up and give you some options. So here I'm going to go ahead and select create an assignment. So this should give you all of the same options that you have when creating an assignment on Classroom directly, because this is actually Classroom's, this is actually directly on Classroom at this point. So I guess as far as like access and things like that, you have the option of all students or just the students in that course. You can give it the title, the due date, and then like a topic if you had that, and then you could assign it. The piece for adding it to Drive, so since these are web links, I'm not sure that they'd be able to download it unless you're like attaching something along with it that they could access offline. So for the offline piece, I'm not sure how well that would work for sharing these web links, unless it was something like a Flexbook that we do offer offline access for. We have within Chrome, you can access these books offline. We have an app, and also through we have a Flexbook app that you can use offline. But for web links, you probably would be able to get it into your Drive, but the downloading it for offline access would be, I guess, dependent on what resource you're sharing.
Thanks, Felix. Yeah, maybe we'll show you a couple of options. Once again, we've mentioned this a few different times, kind of our offline options. So if you just scroll down on any homepage and you go to tools and apps, that'll take you to our choices for our practice app that we mentioned, and then our physics sims and Flexbook all have offline access options from there. We also have an offline reader that you would see kind of on the left of any read, so I'll show you that in a second, but you could download those and then access a chapter or a whole book offline. So that might be an option for students to kind of see that piece. If I went into a particular topic, so let's see, if I picked chemistry topic, I don't know, we've done this a few times, I think. So, you know, here you have a read video. You can access this. So any of our reads will have kind of an access to like assigned to class. If they're part of a book, you can access them offline. So actually, if I went back to kind of CK-12 and I was using a book that I was working with, so Flexbook, textbook, kind of either option, whether it's down at the concept level, so it's broken down a little more than our traditional Flexbooks, but you'll see this offline reader option. So they could access kind of the whole book or a chapter from that particular piece. So hopefully that actually answers this offline apps that can be downloaded to Chromebooks. If you want to access the reads within the offline reader, just do it within the course of a book. So hopefully that takes care of that piece. And then if you're looking at practice, so let's go back to kind of, or even we'll pick a topic in here, because this is a concepts book. So if it's a concepts book, it's associated directly with our practice tool. So if I pick a topic, physical properties of matter, you'll be able to see the practice options here. I can preview them there. I could go down to kind of link to any particular page. It might have extra resources down at the bottom if there's other ones available there. But if I went to that practice option, I could go to that practice page. I could look it up. So physical properties of matter, if I wanted to kind of see what that looked like, I could preview it here. I could submit that. That same physical properties of matter if I was accessing it from that concept page. So super simple way to get to that is to search. And you could pull up that either in chemistry or physical science, either one. And on that practice page from the modality, not when you're previewing it, but here as well, you can actually download this. So if you wanted to do a particular practice or a quiz, you could download the PDF and upload that to Google Drive and a student could access it. But that would be more like uploading any other resource. As Felix said, we are web links. So unless you're using within one of the apps, you'd want to kind of look at that as an option to upload other resources from within there. And you can do the download option kind of from the browsing practice as well. Just note that if you download it, you fix it and you lose the adaptive component. So Felix, we have a question on Schoology. So this person says they understand the app. They'd like to add assignments directly from CK-12 while working in the resources personnel part in Schoology. So how do you maybe do that? They said they've set up the CK-12 in the course section and add assignment. Maybe you could just demo that one more time so they could see kind of how to add those assignments.
Sure, let's see here. Let me share my screen. Okay, so they add assignments from the resources section. I see. Let's see. So I know for Schoology, you're installing the app and the access to it is from the add materials. So it looks like you don't want to do that though. You want to go to resources. I'm not sure that there's a way to do it from here, just because Schoology isn't exposing. Right, so it looks like they're not exposing that from the resources section. So would be something Schoology would have to enable. And I'm not sure if it's, let's see. Yeah, okay. So I think there is another way to do it though. So might not be quite what you're looking for. And I could check with Schoology and see if that's something that they can do. But from here, I know you wanted to do it directly from the resources, but there is an option to save it to resources, which I have not explored a lot, but I guess basically you're just copying it to your resources section. So let's see. So that's, I guess, kind of like a workaround. I can definitely check and see if there is if this is supported, like having an external tool and doing the whole resource selection from here. But this would be something that Schoology would have to enable. I'm thinking maybe as part of the installation process, there'd be another option to install it for like a resource in the resources section. But as far as I know right now, this might be like maybe a workaround for you. I know you wanted to do it directly from there, but yeah, that might be an option until either that's supported or there's another way to do it. And let's see. So I'm reading a question from Joshua. So these assignments that are created in the LMS, will they be archived or would we lose it after a year when the subscription's in, or are they saved permanently? So I guess, yeah, I guess internally, like we are kind of holding on to those assignments, although we don't expose any of the assignments that are created from the LMS. We don't really surface that when you're on CK-12 directly, kind of outside of the LMS context. But we do have a record of them. So I guess it's kind of yes and no. I guess we haven't really had a case where that's kind of come up. So yeah, I guess if you're using like an LMS, say like Schoology or Canvas, once you create those assignments, they're kind of within that LMS, so they would disappear. Although we do have them on our side, we're just not kind of exposing them to you. So that could be something that we maybe as we're doing these enhancements, maybe something that we look into and seeing if exposing some of these LMS created assignments like directly on the site for one of those reasons. So thanks, Joshua.
Thanks, Felix. It looks like we've answered all open questions. We'll give you another few seconds to kind of toss any last ones in there. Otherwise, we'll be back this afternoon and you can ask a whole bunch more then as well, and continue to kind of sign up for office hours or ask us questions throughout kind of emailing us as we work our way through this week and through the coming school year. So I think with that, we're off. Have a wonderful day and we'll hopefully see some of you guys this afternoon.